Hi, this is Dr. Graves from the California State University at Northridge Geography and Environmental Studies program. This is a video tutorial that is designed to help students in my forensic geography class or anybody else who stumbles upon it to learn a technique for converting anonymized data to something that approximates reality. So the problem we have here with the data that you would download from most law enforcement and many other agencies that wish to anonymize the data is that, let's scroll over here. This is the homicides for Los Angeles in 2022. They give you, and rightfully so, the address where it happened in block fashion. So there at the top you see it happened at 8100 block of Vineland Avenue. And so that is an approximation of where that crime occurred. It was somewhere between 8100 Vineland and 8199 Vineland Avenue. Very graciously, the LA Police Department then also provides the latitude and longitude, but this again reflects this address as it's written, 8100 Vineland Avenue, and there's basically a 1 in 100 chance that that's exactly where that crime happened. It's okay unless we're trying to map the crimes, and I'll show you what happens here if I pop over to a map of these crimes as mapped. These are all of the crimes in 2022 here in, it looks like, Canoga Park. But what you get is this very regular pattern of all the crimes happening at the end of a street at the intersection. So it's compounding a lot of the crimes. There are things that do happen at the intersection, but it appears that crimes only happen at an intersection. It's a problem for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is that at major intersections, perhaps like this one here, where Sherman Way meets Topanga Canyon, and you see that there are a number of crimes that have been listed here. This is also very likely a zip code border, a census tract border, a census block group border, and at some point, when you zoom in far enough, all of those crimes that happen exactly on one corner may fall into one or the other, or there could be as many as 4 different census tracts intersecting, or zip codes at that intersection. Every single one of those crimes would fall into one of 4 possible intersections and or zip codes or census tracts. And so we see when we zoom way in here that it looks like if there were 4 census tracts here, that all of these crimes would fall into the one on the southwest of the intersection. So it would bias your analysis. Now, if you worked for a law enforcement agency or the government agency that produces this information, you would very likely have better information. But if you're an academic researcher, as we are in the class, and many of you may become at some other point, we have to find a different way to create a more realistic map, and this tutorial will show you how to do it. Download yourself a list of about 100 crimes. If you're in my class, this file that we're looking at will be made available to you. And what we're going to do is to first press Control A to select the entire database, and then Control plus C to copy it, put it on the clipboard. I'm going to go over to a blank worksheet. I've called it Converted, and I'm going to just paste that in cell A1, and we'll use this as our working copy and I like to keep a clean version of the original download in case I make a mistake. I'm going to move everything to the right, so I'm pressing Alt, Insert, C for column. You can also do that by clicking on Insert, Home, Insert, and a column. I want to type in ID just so I can have a sort column by which I can go back to the original. I'm going to put a number 1 here. I'll scroll down to the last cell and then press Control and Shift and the up arrow, which highlights that entire column from A down. And then we want to click on Fill and Series. By default, it will increase the value in each of these cells by 1 all the way down 382. Now, when we sort, we can sort it back by the original anytime, because we now have sort of a key to sorting it back out the way we got it. So I'm scrolling all the way over here to the last handful of columns that have the data. We've got a couple of things we need to do right off the bat. One is to sort the file by cross street, because we want to separate those crimes that have an address listing versus those that have an intersection listing. So I'm just sorting A to Z, and that brings all of these cells that have a secondary intersection listed, or an intersection listed, and I'm just going to give them a color so I can keep them straight. And then in these blanks I'm going to put an asterisk, and that will help me keep these things straight. So I'm just going to fill in the remaining cells with an asterisk, and I don't want those to stay pink, so maybe I'll just make them green. Color coding helps a little bit. And then here's the latitude and longitude columns as they are supplied. Those are useful, but not that useful. So what I want to do over here in the first blank column is to create a column of random numbers. So I'm going to press rand here, and I want to type in equals rand between, and if you want to at this point press the tab button, which spells it correctly for you and even gives you the open parentheses. And we want a number between 10 and 99, which will help us with what we're going to do. So we're going to copy that all the way down. I'm pressing Control C. The chase lights come on, and I'm going to double click in the lower right hand corner, and that will fill out the rest of the column. Okay, so now what we want to do is get a new address. So new address, type in equals CONCAT. This is a command that will glue two things together, and we want to concatenate what's in column Z, so Z2, comma, and then we want to make sure that there is a space, an ampersand, another space, and another quotation mark. So it's quotation space, ampersand space, comma, and then the cross street. So that's in AA2. And then you can just press enter, and it will have given us a full address. Copy all the way down until we get to the end of our intersection based addresses. So those are complete. Well, not quite, but we'll come back and finish it up. And then you can scroll down to the first of the addressed, anonymized addresses, and we want to fix those up. So we're going to write equals substitute from that cell, and this is Z81, we have 8100 Vineland Avenue, the old text, so we need a comma, the old text that we want to displace or substitute is 00 and a space. So that's the end of each of those anonymized numeric part of the address. And then the new text that we want to replace it with is our random number. So that in this case is AD81. And then close parentheses. And now what it has given us is a plausible substitute address for 8100 Vineland, and it's 8131. We want to copy that, double click in the lower right hand corner, and it will have filled everything out. I see a problem here. We need to add another space to our address, perhaps a second space there. There, and that makes certain that the east is separated from the numbers and the west the directional indication. Okay, at this point we just need to highlight the whole column, press Control C and to copy it, and then we definitely want to paste the formulas back as values. This is the new address. We have one last thing to do, perhaps. First is we need to trim out all of the extraneous spaces. So type in trim, open parentheses, and reference your newly created address, and now you have something that is more manageable. Press Control C, the chase lights come on, double click, and now we have a clean set of addresses that we can use. You may want to do one last thing, which is state or city and state, and type in Los Angeles, CA. Copy that all the way down, and at this point you are ready to geocode this new set of addresses. That concludes this video tutorial.